Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at all the cool stuff you probably didn't find in some of the Twisted Metal games. Do you have any secrets to share from Twisted Metal? Did you discover any of these for yourself? Let us know down in the comments.
And once awakened, we will all rise up.
Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
First-person camera. Considering just about most of the other games in the series have the camera placed behind the car, one would not guess that the original Twisted Metal had another option for players. Simply hold the start button and press up on the D-pad to change to a first-person camera. Suddenly, you are in the driver's seat, and it isn't just some generic dashboard layout either. Every character has their own first-person screen that fits their personality. Apparently, this change of perspective was so harrowing to program that no other Twisted Metal game would feature this ever again. It is uniquely an aspect for the OG. Gold Tooth. The coolest part of Head-On's PS2 port was the inclusion of Twisted Metal Lost, a whole other half that threw in scrap materials from the cancelled Twisted Metal Harbor City, as well as games before. However, you probably didn't think there would be an unlockable vehicle in the 3-stage campaign. Yes, there is 12-pack, but we meant there is a second hidden vehicle. Beat all 3 stages on hard, and you will get Gold Tooth. Even though it handles the same way as our favorite ice cream truck, Gold Tooth is the strongest vehicle in Twisted Metal Lost. So think of it as an alternative God mode. War of the Monsters crossover? It isn't often that Twisted Metal crosses over with other games. Okay, maybe with the often forgotten Critical Depth, but Head-On crosses over with hidden PS2 gem War of the Monsters. Posters of the Monster Brawler are plastered all across the Los Angeles billboards and walls. We wouldn't be surprised if both IPs share the same world, as a mechanized Sweet Tooth was featured in War of the Monsters as an unlockable skin for Agamo, a titanic sentient pyre that can rip its own head off to use as a weapon. Hey, just like Sweet Tooth's alternate special in TM12. Alternate specials. Speaking of alt specials, this was a mechanic that was primarily introduced in the PS3 Twisted Metal. Every vehicle came with 2 special weapons that would function drastically different from each other. However, this was not the first time any Twisted Metal character had 2 special weapons. In Twisted Metal Black, 2 characters had an alternate special weapon, Shadow and Axel. Whereas Shadow would basically mimic Outlaw's turret ability, Axel could execute a devastating ram similar to its TM12 iteration. To access either, all you have to do is press up on the D-pad 3 times and do so relatively quickly. Neither are super useful, but they're there if you want to see them for yourself. Warthog. By the time you beat TM12's campaign, it seemed as if you had unlocked everything in the game. Well, it did until you started seeing the TMB version of Warthog in your games. Where exactly in the game are you supposed to unlock the Frankenstein station wagon? It may not be an easy task. To get Warthog for yourself, you will need to earn a gold medal on every single stage in the campaign, which is way easier said than done. Game modifiers. TM3 and 4 may not be everyone's favorites, but they do hold some neat ideas of their own. One example is the inclusion of gameplay modifiers, which could only be accessed through the in-game cheat menu. Some of the different button combinations include making all weapons napalms, infinite ammunition for specials, no health pickups, access to demo levels, invisible vehicles, and even a mode where none of the enemy cars spawn in. And if you want a real challenge, TM3 has a modifier where all of the CPU cars target only the player. Using Minion's weapon. If you're having a bit of trouble with TM2, don't feel bad about yourself. It is the second hardest game in the franchise, right behind TM Black. But there is a hidden weapon that any vehicle can access if you find yourself in a pickle. Though it consumes energy like the freeze missile or shield, you can input a short combination to use Minion's own special weapon. Hold down your machine gun and press up, down, up, up on the D-pad. Most of the enemies will go down in 2 or 3 shots, but just don't forget to refill on energy afterwards. The artifacts. Twisted Metal rarely ever connects the games between each other, but one cutscene in TM12 had us gushing over the number of references on display. In one scene, the camera pans across a massive shelf of trinkets Calypso has seemingly collected over his life. Those aren't just any trinkets, though. They are all items given to various drivers across the franchise. From Raven's voodoo dolls to Crazy 8's makeshift boxing glove to even Harold the lunch sack, you can find all kinds of nods to other games. Wait, is that a copy of War of the Monsters?
I know who you are. I know who you really are.
From another pantheon. We could have shoved this one into our previous entry, but it was too cool to do that. Besides, it is arguably the one thing on Calypso's wall that stands out the most. Your eyes do not deceive you, that is very much the Blades of Chaos from God of War on his wall. Though you could just chalk it up to David Jaffe referencing another game he worked on, we like to imagine the possibility of Kratos driving a car in a vehicular combat tournament. Hey, if he could participate in the Mod Nation Racing Championship, who's to stop him from becoming the winner of the next Twisted Metal? Just saying.
Then the visions, they will end?
TM12's Reveal.
The voice inside me was a figment of my imagination. My God, it was all in my mind.
When it comes to hidden secrets, there has been no cooler secret than the one that was shoved deep into the bowels of Head-On's PS2 port. Extra Twisted Edition buried a rather monumental reveal in all of its behind-the-scenes and deleted content. If you watch the documentary called The Dark Past, you might have noticed numbers appear in a few spots. Those who matched all of the numbers featured in the doc to their alphabetical counterparts discovered a special message that read, quote, "Twisted Metal is coming to PS3, end quote." It would be another 2 years after Extra Twisted's release before we got an official reveal for TM12 at E3 2010.
And there's good work in those games on every aspect, code and art and game design. That's not to say by themselves they're bad games, they're just bad Twisted Metal games.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, there's more where that came from.